It's time for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. It's time for The Game on News Talk 1400 WKNW Sault Ste. Marie. For the next 2 hours, we'll get an in-depth look at local sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from the coaches and players that are involved in the game. We'll also analyze the college and pro sports scene across the region and dive into the biggest national stories too. Now, let's get to the game and join your host, Scott Nason.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to The Game on News Talk 1400. You can also hear our show live online at newstalk1400.net and podcasts at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. As a man said, my name is Scott Nason, broadcasting from our News Talk 1400 studios in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, on this Monday, January 3rd, 2022. The Game, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. We'll be with you up until 8 o'clock tonight, and after that, we will join Detroit Pistons basketball as the Pistons taking on the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee. Tip-off around 8:07, so we should get you to the game right around at tip-off time right here on News Talk 1400. Coming up on tonight's show, we'll be joined by co-host Butch Davis from Butch on Sports around 6:45. Butch will stick around for the round table tonight at 7, and special guest will be Paul VanWagoner, host of The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg. Now, you may be tuning in and saying, do I have the right station? Things have changed here at News Talk 1400 WKNW Sault Ste. Marie. As we have entered 2022, our station has undergone a format change. Of course, the new moniker, News Talk 1400. We'll still have the game every Monday night, 6 to 8 o'clock right here on News Talk 1400. We'll also have Fox Sports at night after the Pistons game tonight and on the weekends. But during the day, we will be having some talk shows, some news talk shows, if you will. Looking at our schedule here on News Talk 1400, from 6 to 9 a.m., we'll have the Steve Gruber Show, Monday through Friday, right here on News Talk 1400. 9 to noon, the Wendy Bell Show. Noon to 3, Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, the Rush Limbaugh replacements, if you will. They took over Rush's slot about a year ago after Rush Limbaugh passed away. And as you might have heard if you tuned in before this show, 3 to 6, Glenn Beck, every Monday through Friday. And as I mentioned, we'll have Fox Sports at night. However, Fox Sports will be on a little bit later tonight, as we'll have Detroit Pistons basketball, as the Pistons will take on the Milwaukee Bucks. And a News Talk 1400, still your home for Laker men's and women's basketball, Soo Eagles hockey, the Laker hockey show, and the game. So a new name, a different format, but still a sports format at night. And this show has not changed. And I hope all our listeners had a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Certainly was nice to get some downtime, but the sports didn't really stop, although locally we don't have as much local sports to talk about here. Over the past week, we'll cover what's happened over the past 2 weeks and look ahead to what's coming up this week and on our airwaves and such. But let's get our listeners kind of a reminder of where things set in the world of local sports. And let's start with girls high school basketball, recapping the past couple weeks of girls basketball. Let's start with the Soo High Blue Devils, who played 8 games before the holiday break. Their last game was 2 weeks ago on Monday, December 20th, as the Soo High Blue Devils traveled to Alpena and knocked off the Wildcats by the score of 56-45. So the Soo High girls 5-3 on the season, 1-1 in Straits Area Conference play, and their next action is scheduled for tomorrow night in Petoskey. And our next Soo High Blue Devil girls basketball broadcast will be a week from Tuesday, as they will host Alpena. Dave Watson and Ray Bell will have a call of that one over on 1230 WSOO, starting with the tip-off show at 6:45. The St. Ignace girls, they were in action over the holiday break as they defeated Engadine on December 20th by the score of 55-31. And then the Saints took part in the Motor City Roundball Classic last Thursday against Port Huron. The Saints fell in that game by the score of 41-35 to fall to 3-2 on the season. The Saints will resume action this Friday as they will travel to Newberry in Straits Area Conference play. The Brimley Bays girls basketball team, well, they took part in a tournament in Mackinac City just before Christmas. The Bays knocked off Manistee in their tournament opener by the score of 59-51, and then they would fall to Mackinac City in the tournament championship by a 59-52 count. Brimley now 3-4 on the season. They will resume play tomorrow. I'd rather check that. They'll resume play on Tuesday, January 11th, when they will travel to St. Ignace. The Rudyard Bulldogs girls basketball team, undefeated in both Straits Area Conference and EUP Conference play so far this season in girls basketball. They are 2-1. They haven't played since December 18th, which was a loss to Lake Leelanau St. Mary's by the score of 47-45. And the Bulldogs are scheduled to be at home on Wednesday to take on Johannesburg Lewiston. Pickford girls 2-0 on the young season. Their last game was almost a month ago as they knocked off Brimley 52-33. They will be at Ellsworth in a makeup game this Wednesday. Cedarville Detour in girls basketball off to a very good start this season, 4-1 atop the EUP conference with a 2-0 record. Their last action was on December 17th when they edged out Brimley by the score of 41-40. And the Islanders' next game will be at Engadine tomorrow night. Engadine 3-2 on the season in girls basketball. Newberry still winless on the year. They are 0-4. They will host St. Ignace on Friday. So looking at the girls' standings in the Straits Area Conference and the Eastern Upper Peninsula Conference, again, very early. Some teams have only played a couple games. Some teams has played as many as 8. Starting in the Straits Area Conference for the girls, Rudyard, as I mentioned earlier, 2-0 in Straits Area Conference play, 2-1 overall. Sheboygan, they have one win in conference play, 1-0 with a 4-2 record. Sioux High in third, 1-1 in Straits Area Conference play, 5-3 overall. St. Ignace, they haven't been in fourth place much in the Straits Area Conference. Check that. They're actually in fifth place, 0-1 with a 3-2 record. Newberry's yet to play a Straits Area Conference game. They are 0-0 in conference play, 0-4 overall. In the EUP Conference, 4 teams still undefeated. Cedarville on top with a 2-0 conference mark. They're 4-1 overall. Rudyard, Pickford, and Engadine all 1-0 in conference play. Rudyard 2-1 overall. Pickford yet to lose. And Engadine 4-2. Brimley 0-3 and in last place in the EUP conference with a 3-4 record, while Newberry is in fifth, 0-2 in the conference, 0-4 overall. Looking at boys high school basketball for the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago on Monday, December 20th, the Soo High Blue Devil boys fell to 1-3 as they were defeated by Alpena at home by the score of 67-31. The Blue Devil boys' next game will be on Wednesday at home against Gaylord, and that'll be our next Soo High Blue Devil broadcast. Dave Watson and Ray Bell will have a call over on 1230 WSOO, starting with the tip-off show at 6:45 on a Wednesday. St. Ignace boys in their last game on December 20th knocked off Engadine 70-46. Their record now 2-2 on the season, and St. Ignace will host Newberry on Thursday. Rudyard boys still undefeated on the season, 3-0. Their last games were canceled just before Christmas, and they will be in action tomorrow night at Brimley. That should be a very good game and a very good Rudyard Bulldogs team. It's going to be tough to knock them off this season. We'll see if the Bays can do that in their home gym tomorrow night. Speaking of the Brimley Bays, they participated in a holiday tournament just after Christmas last Wednesday and Thursday, as they took part in the Kearney Nadu holiday tournament. The Bays knocked off Stevenson in their opening game 68-67, and then fell in the tournament final to the Milwaukee Young Cogs. No, that's not a misspeak. That's their actual name, by the score of 79-65. Brimley 4-2 on the season. They're at home to Rudyard on Tuesday night. Pickford 0-2 on the season. They will be in action on Thursday at home against Engadine. And that'll be the next EUP game of the week over on our sister station at Country 105. Yours truly will be filling in for Matt Pocket for that game, and we'll be joined by color commentator and co-host of our newest show on the Game Entertainment and Media platform, that show called Full Court Press, talking about boys basketball in the EUP. Matt Johnson will be joining me for the call on Thursday night. Again, that game over on Country 105, starting with the pregame show around 6:45. Engadine 0-2 on the season in boys basketball. They are at Manistee tonight. Cedarville Detour, they're 2-1 so far this year, and they will be at the International Academy of Flint on Thursday, and then will host Hillman on Friday. And Newberry 0-2 on the season. They will go in search of their first win on Thursday, as they will be at St. Ignace. Looking at the boys' standings in the Straits Area Conference, Rudyard atop the conference, 2-0, 3-0 overall. Sheboygan and the Sioux tied for second. Sheboygan yet to play a conference game. The Soo High Blue Devils 1-1. St. Ignace and Newberry tied for third. Both those teams 0-1 in conference play. In the EUP conference for the boys, Cedarville atop the conference, 2-0. Rudyard in second with a 1-0 mark. Brimley in third, 1-1. Engadine also in third, yet to play a conference game. Pickford in fifth, 0-1. And Newberry in sixth. They are 0-2. The Soo High Blue Devil hockey team will resume play this Friday and Saturday at the Big Bear Arena. The Blue Devils 4-5-2 on the season. Their last action, they lost to Jackson Lumen Christi by the score of 4-1, and then tied Big Rapids 4-4. Those games played just before Christmas. The Blue Devils will take on Fenton on Friday at 8 p.m. and Plymouth on Saturday at 3. You can hear both those games on your official home for Soo High Athletics, 1230 WSO this weekend with Dave Watson. Pregame show around 7:50 on Friday and 2:50 on Saturday. We're going to take our first break here on the game. We were unable to get our scheduled guest in due to a last minute, we'll just say last minute thing. That's probably the proper thing to say in radio. So we're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to play This Week in High School Sports from the MHSAA. Then after that, we'll talk more local sports, as we will cover the junior hockey world, as well as Laker athletics, Sioux Indians, and more. All coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, on News Talk 1400.
Let's get back to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Let's get back to The Game on News Talk 1400.
And welcome back to The Game on News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you. Coming up around 6:45, we'll be joined by co-host Butch Davis from Butch on Sports. And then joining Butch and I for the 7 o'clock roundtable will be ESPN Blacksburg's own Paul VanWagoner, host of The Drive, who will join Butch and I to talk about regional and national sports here on News Talk 1400. Well, we still have more local sports to talk about. Let's move on to the Ontario Hockey League. Many teams not playing due to COVID-19. We're going to talk more about that in a moment, but the Soo Greyhounds were able to play, and they've played 3 games since our last broadcast, as the Hounds resumed action after the Christmas break this past Wednesday, and they knocked off Sudbury in overtime by the score of 5-4. Ty Carty scored the game-winning goal in overtime to lift the Hounds to victory. The Hounds then traveled to Saginaw last Thursday and fell to the Spirit by the score of 2-1. Marco Mignosa scored the only goal for the Hounds in that game. And then the Hounds played the only game in the OHL last night after 4 games were canceled. And the Hounds would top Sudbury on the road by the score of 4-2. Rory Cairns scored 2 goals to lead the Hounds, who now improved to 17, 10, and 2 on the season. The Greyhounds lead the West Division with 36 points, currently 4 points ahead of the Windsor Spitfires, and the Hounds are scheduled to be at Sudbury tomorrow night and then host Windsor on Friday and Saturday at the GFL Memorial Gardens. You can hear all those games over on our sister station at Rock 101 with Jerry Liscombe Jr. The NOJHL scheduled to resume play this week. The Soo Eagles, who are in second place in the West Division, 8 points behind the first place Soo Thunderbirds with 4 games in hand. They are scheduled to be at Greater Sudbury on Thursday and then host Blind River on Friday. You can hear Friday's game on your home for Soo Eagles hockey all season long. News Talk 1400 with myself and Rob Horn. Pregame show around 7:15 for Friday's game. The Soo Thunderbirds, they will take a 3-game road trip up north starting Friday night in Hearst. They will also visit struggling Cochrane on Saturday and Timmins on Sunday. And just earlier this afternoon, this is kind of a news and sports related issue. The Ontario government has instituted lockdown procedures, if you will. Reading this press release from the Canadian Press. Ontario children will move to remote learning. Restaurants will not be allowed to offer indoor dining, and gyms will be closed, according to Prime Minister Doug Ford. Ford says the province is being moved back to step 2 of the official reopening plan in response to rising Omicron cases and hospitalizations. Ford said this earlier this morning in a press conference, and here are some of the changes. There's many, but the hockey ones are the ones that are probably in the most question right now. Changes to these latest lockdown procedures: social gathering limits of 5 people indoors and 10 people outdoors. Again, this in Ontario, not in Michigan. Capacity at organized public events limited to 5 people indoors. Businesses and organizations must ensure employees work remotely unless the nature of their work requires them to be on site. Capacity limits at indoor weddings, funerals, religious services, and ceremonies of 50% capacity of the particular room. Outdoor services are limited to the number of people that can maintain 2 meters of physical distance. Retail setting, including shopping malls, permitted at 50% capacity. For shopping malls, physical distancing will be required in lineups. Loitering will not be permitted, and food courts will be required to close. Personal care services permitted at 50% and other restriction. This includes saunas, steam rooms, and oxygen bars. Closing indoor meeting and event spaces with limited exceptions, but permitting outdoor spaces to remain open with restrictions. Public libraries at 50% capacity. Indoor dining at restaurants, bars, or other food or drink establishments are closed. Outdoor dining with restrictions, takeout, drive-through, and delivery is permitted. Again, these all in Ontario that were implemented today. So if you happen to just tune in, this isn't in Michigan. We have no restrictions, at least at this point. Sale of alcohol restricted after 10 p.m. in Ontario, as well as museums, zoos, yada, yada, yada. Let's get to the part that pertains to hockey. And again, we haven't had any official word as far as from the NOJHL or the OHL, but this is the part that sticks out to me as far as these new lockdown procedures. Indoor sport and recreational fitness facilities, including gyms, except for athletes training for the Olympics and Paralympics, and select professional and elite amateur sports leagues, closed, while outdoor facilities are permitted to operate, but with the number of spectators not to exceed 50% occupancy and other requirements. So again, we don't know if this will affect the NOJHL or the OHL. As we went on the air, we didn't receive any official word. Looking at the NLJHL website, they still have the games scheduled for this week, which begin on Thursday. And towards the end of December, there were several of the municipalities that did not have contact hockey. Now, I don't know if this will change that or not. So we don't know. It's many questions, more questions than answers right now. But Soo Eagles are scheduled to be at Sudbury on Thursday and host Blind River on Friday, so we hope that happens. And if we have the Friday game, it'll be right here on ESPN. Excuse me, I knew I was going to do that tonight on News Talk 1400. Some habits are hard to break. The Sioux Indians will resume play this weekend at home as they will host the Oakland Junior Grizzlies. They were scheduled to do a pair of games this weekend. However, our good friend Dan Lasley updates me to say that they are only playing on Saturday. So the Sioux Indians will play one game against a very good Oakland Junior Grizzlies team. That game will be at Puller Stadium on Saturday at 4 p.m. And admission is free, so check out some great midget AAA hockey at Puller Stadium. Well, the World Junior Championships in hockey were canceled last week due to the rising number of COVID-19 cases among players. The IIHF announced last Wednesday that it canceled the remainder of the tournament. Officials met last Wednesday to discuss how to keep the tournament going despite COVID issues, but those present decided cancellation was the best path. This news comes on the heels of 3 tournament games being forfeited before that. Last Tuesday, the U.S. forfeited its game to Switzerland after 2 players contracted the virus. And on Wednesday of last week, positive cases forced the Czech Republic to forfeit against Finland and Russia to forfeit against Slovakia. According to the IIHF president, Luke Tardif, we owed it to the participating teams to do our best to create the conditions necessary for this event to work. Unfortunately, this was not enough. We now have to take some time and focus on getting all players and team staff back home safely. Tardif added that the tournament could resume this summer, and this was the second straight year the tournament was in Alberta, but unlike the 2021 event in Edmonton, players and staff were not in a bubble environment that would provide extra protection against the virus. Teams stayed in hotels open to the public, and with the highly contagious Omicron variant, even the most vigilant adherences to protocols couldn't totally prevent illness. Several teams expressed frustration to tournament organizers about the bubble environment not being as secure as advertised. Teams in Red Deer apparently shared the hotel with the general public, including a large wedding party. So unfortunately, 2022 still has COVID-19 and variants much a part of it. And we're certainly seeing that in Ontario. We're also seeing rising cases in Michigan. So again, do your due diligence and just try to be careful out there. This is a very highly contagious variant. Early returns say it's not as deadly as the Delta variant or such. I'm not a health expert. I don't claim to be one. All I can say is just be careful out there because we still are in a pandemic. And let's hope 2022 brings us what 2021 did not. And that was an end to this horrible pandemic. We're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to talk Laker athletics as the Laker men's and women's basketball teams scheduled to be in action this week at home. And the Laker hockey team will be on the road resuming CCHA play. All coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
Ah, the joys of cooking. Just find a recipe, get the ingredients, preheat the oven. Okay, this is already too much. Pull up Applebee's to go instead. Choose from the whole menu, order and pay online, pick it up, and now you're home with dinner. Ah, the joys of not cooking. Applebee's to go. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Pick up your next meal with Applebee's Carside to Go. Order and pay online, pick up, and head home.
Central Savings Bank. Ask what we can do for you.
Central Savings Bank has been your hometown bank since 1902. They live where you live, and they're here to help. Stop into one of their 9 locations and ask what the CSB family can do for you. With conveniences like online banking, access your money when and where you want. CSB Loan Pay Express. Pay your CSB loan wherever you are. Instant issue debit cards. Stop by your local branch and get a new card without the wait. Mobile wallet. Make purchases right from your smartphone. Central Savings Bank has all the conveniences you need and want for today's fast-paced world. Visit one of their 9 locations today to get started by asking what the CSB family can do for you. Bank with the best. Bank with Central Savings Bank.
Central Savings Bank. Ask what we can do for you.
Getting the kids to practice on time. Remembering if it's your day to bring snacks. Making it to the game with a clean jersey. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like whether your kid is going to run toward first or third base. That's simple human sense.
Madigan Pingator, your independent auto owners agency on West Water Street in the Soo.
I gotta figure out how to move the snow before it gets here. Wow, a lot of plows and blowers on the market. And where are they made? Okay, China. Wait, Brazil? What the? There's no way I'm gonna throw away my money. I'm going with Boss.
Boss snowplows from Gaylor Thompson are made in the UP, where winter and deep snow are just a way of life. Boss plows, made in Michigan for Michigan winters, waiting for you at Gaylor Thompson Sales and Service, exit 373, just off I-75, Rudyard.
You can catch podcasts of the game at thegamesportshow.com. Now let's get back to it with Scott Nason on News Talk 1400.
And welcome back to the game on News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you. Coming up here in about 10 minutes, we'll be joined by co-host Butch Davis from Butch on Sports. We still have some more local sports to cover. Let's move on to Lake Superior State University athletics. The LSSU hockey team, who has been off since December 11th after sweeping Northern Michigan at home, will start 2022 play on the road this weekend at Bemidji State. The Lakers currently 11-10-1 overall, 7-7 in the CCHA, currently in fourth place. Friday's game 8:07, Saturday's game 7:07. You can hear both those games over on our sister station, Yes FM, with Matt Pocket. Friday's pregame show around 7:35 and Saturdays around 6:35. You can also hear the Laker hockey show right here on News Talk 1400 with Bill Crawford and head coach Damon Witten. The next show will be tomorrow at noon right here on News Talk 1400. The Laker men's basketball team will return to conference play on Thursday and Saturday at the Bud Cooper Gymnasium. The Laker men 7-3 on the season, 2-2 in GLIAC play. Will host Saginaw Valley State on Thursday at 7:30 and Wayne State on Saturday at 3. You can hear both games right here on News Talk 1400 with David John. The Laker women's basketball team scheduled to return to conference play this Thursday and Saturday, also at the Bud Cooper Gymnasium. The Laker women 2-8 on the year, 1-3 in GLIAC play. They are scheduled to host Saginaw Valley State on Thursday at 5:30 and Wayne State on Saturday at 1. You can hear both those games right here on News Talk 1400 with David John. Looking at our broadcast schedule this week, a very busy week after a couple weeks off for a lot of us. Certainly a good R&R for our staff, and well, we're ready to go this week for more sports. Starting tonight, right after our show here on News Talk 1400, the Detroit Pistons, who, believe it or not, won a game on Saturday with half their roster being from the Motor City Cruise. They're expected to get a lot more players back tonight in Milwaukee, and they're going to need them because the Milwaukee Bucks are good. The Detroit Pistons are not. But we will have that game right after the game right here on News Talk 1400 with Mark Champion Rick Mahorn right at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow night, we have Soo Greyhounds hockey over on Rock 101 as the Hounds will be at Sudbury. 6:35 pregame with Jerry Liscombe Jr. over on Rock 101. Detroit Red Wings hockey tomorrow night at home as the Wings, off their 5-1 loss yesterday to Boston, look to bounce back against the San Jose Sharks. Ken Cal and Paul Woods will have the call over on 1230 WSOO, starting with the pregame show at 7:15. On Wednesday, we'll have Detroit Pistons basketball right here on News Talk 1400 as the Pistons will be at Charlotte. 6:35 pregame show for that one. And we'll have Sioux High boys basketball over on 1230 WSOO as the Blue Devils taking on the Gaylord Blue Devils. Dave Watson and Ray Bell will have the call of that one starting at the pregame show at 6:45. On Thursday, we'll have Laker men's and women's basketball at home against Saginaw Valley State. Pregame show 5:15 right here on News Talk 1400 with David John. The EUP game of the week on Thursday will be in Pickford for boys basketball as the Engadine Eagles will take on the Pickford Panthers. That game over on Country 105. Yours truly will have the call of that one along with Matt Johnson starting at the pregame show at 6:45. Detroit Pistons basketball right here on News Talk 1400 on Thursdays. The Pistons will be at the Memphis Grizzlies. Pregame show at 7:35. And then at 9:45, the Detroit Red Wings travel out west to take on the Anaheim Ducks. 9:45 pregame show on Thursday over on 1230 WSOO. Friday night, Soo Greyhounds hockey at home against Windsor, 6:35 over on Rock 101. Soo Eagles slated to take on Blind River at Puller Stadium. Yours truly and Rob Horn will have the call of that one right here on News Talk 1400, starting with the pregame show at 7:15. Laker hockey at Bemidji over on Yes FM with Matt Pocket on Friday night, pregame show 7:35, and Soo High Blue Devil hockey on Friday at home as they will take on Lake Linden. 7:50 pregame show over on 1230 WSOO. Saturday Coach's Corner live from Applebee's on the I-75 Business Spur in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan with Dave Watson. That broadcast starts at 11:05 over on 1230 WSOO. We'll have Laker men's and women's basketball on Saturday right here on News Talk 1400 as the Lakers will take on Wayne State. 12:45 pregame show for that one. Soo High hockey against Plymouth. That one on Saturday. I think the schedule's wrong here. Hang on. The schedule I'm looking at, I don't think has the right opponents, but I could be wrong on that one. I have Soo High scheduled to take on Fenton on Friday and Plymouth on Saturday. So it's Fenton on Friday, Plymouth on Saturday, 2:50 pregame show over on 1230 WSOO with Dave Watson. We'll have Laker hockey on Saturday at Bemidji State over on Yes FM, 6:35 pregame show with Matt Pocket. We'll have Detroit Pistons basketball right here on News Talk 1400 as the Pistons host the Orlando Magic. Plenty of good seats available for that game. 6:35 pregame show right here. Soo Greyhounds hockey against Windsor on Saturday, 6:35 pregame show on Rock 101, and the Detroit Red Wings Saturday night. They'll be in Los Angeles to take on the LA Kings, 10:15 pregame over on 1230 WSO. And finally, and we're going to talk more about this team in a moment, the Detroit Lions will take on the Green Bay Packers this upcoming Sunday at Ford Field, 12 o'clock pregame show over on Oldies 93. It is a busy sports season, and let's hope the season stays busy. And we have a lot to talk about coming up as we're going to take our next break. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by co-host Butch Davis from Butch on Sports, all coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
MNC Water Systems has a solution for all your water needs. Want clean, fresh drinking water? MNC Water Systems proudly distributes Norway Springs artesian water, bottled right here in the Upper Peninsula. Cooler rental and bottled water delivery for your home and office are available. MNC Water Systems is offering contactless delivery right to your door, as well as curbside pickup. Call Mo at MNC Water Systems today at 906-647-7307, serving the Eastern UP for over 25 years.
At Old Mission Bank, we're ready to make your home ownership dreams a reality. We're excited to announce that we now offer USDA home loans with options for 100% financing. You heard that right, 100% financing for qualifying USDA mortgages. Come see our experienced lenders to discuss your personal options and let us find the right mortgage for your needs, because it's what we do best. Act now to pre-qualify by calling us or apply directly online at ombloans.com. We're Old Mission Bank, home of your experienced local mortgage professionals. FDIC insured, equal housing lender.
Don Wilson Insurance Agency is big enough to serve and small enough to care. Don Wilson Insurance offers coverage from Fremont Insurance for personal, auto, home, boat, and commercial. Caring about community is just one of the things that sets us apart. We like to think of it as teamwork. When it comes to protecting the things that matter most, we have you covered. Call Don Wilson Insurance today for your free Fremont insurance quote at 906-635-5600.
It's the holiday season, and Reed Metals in Dafter wants to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Reed Metals is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Did you know in the Eastern UP, Reed Metals, your honest metal recycling company, is paying the most money for whole scrap cars and trucks? Bring in your scrap metal and items such as scrap vehicles, heavy equipment, catalytic converters, radiators, vehicle batteries, rims and motors, copper, brass, lead, tin, cast, aluminum, steel, and many more types of recyclable metals, and leave with a check with your name on it. Reed Metals will give you an honest price without surprise fees or deductions at the scale. Reed Metals also offers roll-off dumpsters for both residential and commercial locations. Visit reedmetals.com or call 906-632-0018. Reed Metals, 10 miles south of the Soo on Mackinac Trail. Again, Reed Metals in Dafter wants to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's get back to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Let's get back to the game on News Talk 1400.
And welcome back to the game on News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you, and joining us now, co-host of the game here on News Talk 1400 and host of Butch on Sports, Butch Davis. You can find Butch on Sports on his on his podcast page. Just go to Simply Butch 2. That's TOO.podomatic.com. You can also find Butch's show on our podcast site, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, as Butch joins us each and every week and each and every year to talk about what's going on in the world of sports in the Metro Detroit region. Butch, a belated Happy New Year, and I hope you had a great holiday season. Great to have you back here on the game. How you doing tonight?
Happy New Year, Scott there, and Happy New Year to everybody who's listening right now there. I'm doing okay, and hopefully you are as well.
We are, Butch. Again, a little bit of a change as far as our station moniker and format, News Talk 1400, but we still have sports at night, including our show. We'll have Detroit Pistons basketball after our show and then go to Fox Sports after that. So we didn't get bumped for the new rotation, Butch, so we got to be doing something right, I think.
I should say so here. I'm very, very honored.
Yes, thank you. And we're glad to have you back for another year, Butch. I was trying to think of when we started. You and I got hooked up, I believe it was in 2014, 2015. So we're going on our 7th year, Butch. It's been a marriage made in heaven, I guess you could say.
Yep. And all because of that guy who's coming on at 7 o'clock started this stuff here, man.
That's right. Paul VanWagoner will be joining us here at 7 o'clock from ESPN Blacksburg.
Yes.
He's the guy that got the ball rolling, and Butch, we've rolled with it ever since. Butch, let's cover some Detroit sports here before we kind of open it up to the national sports scene. And let's start with the Detroit Lions. Certainly not the best game that they've ever played in Seattle. The Lions put up a little bit of a comeback in the second half, but it was all Seattle. They knock off the Lions 51-29. The Lions now 2-13-1 on the season, guaranteed to be one of the top 2 picks in the upcoming NFL draft. Just your thoughts on what you saw yesterday, Butch. It certainly wasn't pretty.
A big fat joke here. If somebody was on the take here, they'd be, I don't know here. I didn't like what I saw yesterday on the field there, especially when it come down to the quarterback there. It really looked like he wasn't really concentrating at all. Cornerbacks, they just wasn't playing at all. It was a big fat mess here. And Seattle right now, they have aspiration for playoffs, and hopefully they may get in it. But again, the Lions helped them out a great deal. They just didn't show up. They would be better off to take one of them forfeits and stay home.
Yeah, but things are going bad when at the end of the game with about 2 minutes left, you're kneeling the ball when you've already scored 51 points. Obviously, the defense was brutal, and, it's been not a good season, although you listen to even the commentators yesterday, you think, the Lions are heading in the right direction. But there's only one game left in the regular season. The Lions are going to have 2 or 3 wins and be the second worst team in the NFL. My question to you, Are they heading in the right direction? Because a lot of people think they are. I'm not so sure.
Well, the people want to be on the goody-goody-good train with maybe feel they're in the right direction. I don't think they're in the right direction at all here. I think, again, and I'm going to kind of repeat myself, and I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. The Lions got the athletes to do a yeoman's job here, and that's been proven throughout the year. I didn't see no lack of effort. I see a lack of guidance. I see a lack of not having a head coach and taking authority over the team in such a manner where the players are more respondent there. It shouldn't have took as long as it did for Dan Campbell to start calling plays and then start to be able to motivate a team. And if that's what it takes for his offense to grow, he ought to be doing that for a regular basis, which he was not doing in that Seattle game. I did not see that. He's going to have to get his coaching staff together here and bring on maybe some more people or some less people, get rid of some people here and bring on somebody that can motivate these kids that they have right now, which are, majority of them are good, talented players, but be able to have a route or a map to go on there. And they don't have that right now. They don't know where they're going. You know, you can bring on a rah-rah, this boom bar you want into the locker room, but when you are losing, and people got to look at you. Your family's got to look at you. You know, you're getting a steady paycheck, and God bless you on that. But again, you're losing. That's not a good feeling, okay? And to carry that into the next season beyond there without any kind of direction or knowing where you're going, how are we going to improve and whatnot? There's a lot of things that the Lions have to do, but one thing they definitely have to do is they got to get a decent coaching staff to everybody be on the same page. And I did not see that this year, Scott.
I didn't either, Butch. And we'll certainly talk more about the Lions in the NFL coming up with Paul VanWagoner at 7 o'clock, along with college football, because you know I got a lot to say about what transpired this weekend, Butch, as do you. Yes, I do. Let's move on to the Detroit Red Wings. The Wings in action yesterday, Butch, at Little Caesars Arena. And, it was not a good game for the Wings. They fall by the score of 5-1, losing their second straight game at home. The Wings scheduled to take on San Jose Tuesday at Little Caesars Arena. And Butch, watched part of that game kind of flipping around with the NFL. These physical teams, and Boston certainly one of them, certainly kind of pushed around the Wings yesterday. They just really weren't in it at all, at least what I saw.
You're being very nice at the game in general there. And push around is an understatement to what the Boston Bruins did to the Red Wings Sunday afternoon there. That was a big fat joke here too, okay? They're going to have to get back on the stick, and something has to be done about that there. And I know you just can't come out there and be maybe yourself when you have a young team, and also you're going through these COVID issues where basically you're depending on the athletes to kind of train themselves there, because everyone is practically separated or quarantined there in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But again, the communication with the Red Wings the last two games has not been very good at all there. They have been beaten up there. And Washington is not another team that they played beforehand. It's not a team that you can just shake your finger and say boo, okay? They're going to hit you. They got some of the meanest, toughest guys in the National Hockey League on that team, and also some of the most skilled hockey players in the National Hockey League. They can't do that. Their defense just didn't show up. They gave the goaltender no protection at all there. So they're going to have to get back to some winning ways there. And I don't know how the coach is going to do it, but he's going to have to do it quick, fast, and in a hurry. Yeah,
Wings have lots of games this week, including tomorrow night, as I mentioned, as the Wings will be at home to San Jose. We'll have that game over on 12:30 WSO, starting at the pregame show at 7:15. Butch, the Detroit Pistons, they got a win on Saturday, 117-116 over San Antonio in overtime. 6 of the 10 players who played in Saturday's win were signed to emergency 10-day contracts within the past week or so. The Pistons are scheduled to get a few players back tonight, again, all due to COVID-19. And, Butch, this is something that the NBA's seen, the NFL's seen, the NHL's seen. It's something that's not going away, but Pistons at least got one win, and they haven't had many this season, that's for sure.
Well, thanks to Luka Garza. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to come out there and say that there. One for Luka Garza and the play that he put up there. Mr. Bay and his three-point shooting would not rank up to snuff there. But this young man, I've been saying it a very long time. He deserves to have more playing time than he has been given there. And if they do that, I think the Pistons will be a lot more competitive team. I love Stewart, okay, but in certain cases, he does not compare to the skill set of what Luka Garza got when it comes down to shooting outside, taking a man inside, and bodying up somebody because he's bigger and stronger and a lot more meaner here, and has a reputation that he want to uphold there, and not giving the opportunity. If you're giving the guy only 5 to 7 minutes of playing time, and many times I'm being very light with that because sometimes he don't even get off the bench. And that's on the coaching staff there. The coaching staff is going to do a lot better than what they're doing there.
And Butch, how big is it to have your G League team just down the road? Because look how many players from the Motor City Cruise have played for Detroit. If it was Grand Rapids, I'm sure they probably could figure it out, but certainly having the team that close has helped the Pistons be able to just have a roster on the court due to all these health and safety issues.
Well, a lot of times they play in the same building when it comes down to practicing. They both use that particular building over there at the practice center there, over there by Henry Ford off the boulevard there. So the players are pretty close when it comes down to the pro team and the G League team there. They, practice at different times, but I'm quite sure the coaching staff and maybe some of the scouts are able to look in on each other there and find out what's going on. It's very convenient, as you say, Scott, for that team to be just right around the corner from the actual playing facility of the Pistons there. Wayne State is about a stone's throw away from the brand new building that they're playing in.
Again, we'll have the Pistons right here on News Talk 1400 right after the game at 8 o'clock as the Pistons scheduled to be in Milwaukee. And Butch, we got about a couple minutes left before we get to our top of the hour break. I mentioned earlier the government of Ontario has moved all schools to virtual learning for at least a couple weeks. I know several schools, including the one you work at, is doing the same thing. And with high school basketball, starting back up and schools opening up, things certainly look a little clouded as far as sports and just life in general to start January. What are your thoughts?
Well, what's going to happen is things were not getting better. Before we went on vacation there, things were getting a very lot more worse there. And it's just a matter of people not getting shots per se. But again, besides the shots, we're getting a lot of conflicting kind of messages, especially off the internet, of people getting bad information. Again, I highly suggest you talk to your doctors, medical staff who endow with you, who takes care of you in order to get your information there. It's just been wacky there. And these kids right now who you want to try to keep safe, along with the staff, it's very hard to deal with because, again, many of those children don't have shots, or they did have shots. There's various that's going on that right now there. It kind of works as a cocktail there to whatever you got, although they say it's not very seriously taken there. It's taking a toll on especially children there. So, again, a lot of mystery going on there, and hopefully people, and I'm talking about scientists there, can get it together there where we can kind of stabilize the things and to get quickly back to normal.
Yes, get it together, I think, is the right way to say it, Butch, indeed. Butch, we're going to take our top of the hour break. When you and I come back, we'll be joined by Paul VanWagoner from ESPN Blacksburg, all coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
Ah, the joys of cooking. Just find a recipe, get the ingredients, preheat the oven. Okay, this is already too much. Pull up Applebee's to go instead. Choose from the whole menu, order and pay online, pick it up, and now you're home with dinner. Ah, the joys of not cooking. Applebee's to go. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Pick up your next meal with Applebee's Carside to Go. Order and pay online, pick up, and head home.
Central Savings Bank, ask what we can do for you.
Central Savings Bank has been your hometown bank since 1902. They live where you live, and they're here to help. Stop into one of their 9 locations and ask what the CSB family can do for you. With conveniences like online banking, access your money when and where you want. CSB Loan Pay Express. Pay your CSB loan wherever you are. Instant issue debit cards. Stop by your local branch and get a new card without the wait. Mobile wallet. Make purchases right from your smartphone. Central Savings Bank has all the conveniences you need and want for today's fast-paced world. Visit one of their 9 locations today to get started by asking what the CSB family can do for you. Bank with the best. Bank with Central Savings Bank.
Central Savings Bank, ask what we can do for you.
Getting the kids to practice on time. Remembering if it's your day to bring snacks. Making it to the game with a clean jersey. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like whether your kid is going to run toward first or third base. That's simple human sense.
Madigan Pingator, your independent auto owners agency on West Water Street in the Soo. Let's get to the second half of the game on News Talk 1400 WKNW, Sault Ste. Marie. It's the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Now, here's Scott Nason.
And welcome back to the game on News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you as we continue to be joined by co-host of the game and host of Butch on Sports, Butch Davis. We were scheduled to be joined by Paul VanWagoner from ESPN Blacksburg, but we have been unable to connect with Paul. We'll see if he texts me back and gets us on the round table, Butch. But you know what? You and I got a lot to talk about, and well, let's talk about the University of Michigan and the playoffs, the college football playoffs, which were played on New Year's Eve, and it was all SEC as Alabama cruised to a victory over Cincinnati, and Georgia really had no trouble against Michigan. Butch, just your overall thoughts on the playoffs. Certainly the SEC looked pretty darn good. Michigan, not so much. Your thoughts?
It's the SEC and everybody else.
Yes, it is.
You know, this is what I guess some of the bettors and the movers and the shakers, especially the SEC, wanted to see, and they got it. A rematch of Georgia and Alabama. Both of those games, those participants are playing in for the championship. Did very good work of their opponents there. University of Michigan, again, did not show up, okay? I don't know. I'm a stickler, as you know, of cornerbacks and safeties. Were they in the game here, or did they take a vacation and they come on the plane to? I don't understand, but the receivers were doing a number on them. And the running game, okay, it couldn't be beat, okay? It just Michigan. I know Mr. Hutchinson, we didn't see him that night on any interviews. I noticed that much there. And so I'm quite sure that team was utmost embarrassed, although Harbaugh tried to be very dignified about it and whatnot. But they got beat up. They got beat up very bad there. Again, you can't deny Alabama and Georgia the job they did in those particular semifinals. They beat their opponents up to a pulp.
Yeah, looking at that game, Butch, it reminded me a few years ago when Michigan State made the playoff. A similar thing, a team on the rise, and then they played Alabama and just got taken to the woodshed. And, you know, Georgia really let off in that second half. I mean, they could have put up at least 50, I think, on Michigan. And I think it comes down to just, like you said, Butch, SEC and everyone else. Michigan has not seen a team like Georgia. They haven't seen the speed and the size. I mean, I remember there was one play, the Georgia, one of the front guys, 360 pounds, chased down the Michigan running back like it was nothing. It just speed and talent of the SEC is just so much more superior, especially with the other teams, even the teams that weren't in the playoff. And, Michigan, I think, you talked about Hutchinson. He had 3 tackles in that game. And, you're facing non-Big Ten opponents. Not to say that the Big Ten isn't a good conference. It is. And we saw several teams, including Ohio State and Michigan State and others, Purdue, and probably one of the best games when they beat Tennessee. So it's not the fact that the Big Ten doesn't have the talent. It's just the SEC is just on another level. And, it just seems like every time, maybe with the rare exception, Ohio State, winning it here and there, it just seems like it's SEC and everybody else, like you said.
Yeah, well, also, I'm looking at the expectations. The expectations for Georgia and Alabama was to be in that final. And whatever influence that those coaches and the staff members put over those players in order to prepare themselves, they took it to heart. And didn't seem like Michigan was just glad to be there and got beat up. Got beat up very bad there, okay? And, and this is in all facets of the game. They just got beat up, okay? And I don't want to say there's no excuse for it there, but again, the state of urgency with those two teams and with who are in the finals right now was greater than what Michigan and also, Cincinnati had there.
Butch joining us now from ESPN Blacksburg, Virginia, the host of The Drive, Monday through Fridays, 4 to 6 on ESPN Blacksburg, and certainly a very familiar voice in this area, Paul VanWagoner, joining us on the game for our roundtable. Paul, great to have you on the game, and Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year, guys. Great to be on. I apologize for missing your call earlier. We got a snowstorm down here, Scott. All of my digs and picking at everyone over the course of the last 2 weeks has now come back to bite me in the rear end. So snow in the south, a little different than snow up north. And I'm paying for it.
That's awesome, Paul. Glad you're getting some of the white stuff. And again, we're joined by Butch Davis, co-host of the show and Butch on Sports. And Butch, you and I were just talking about the college football playoff and Michigan losing to Georgia, Alabama losing to Cincinnati. And Paul, I want your take on this. Butch and I talked a little bit about the SEC and everybody else. And certainly on New Year's Eve, that's what it looked like.
Well, the committee got what they wanted. They got their all SEC matchup. Now, people can argue that that's not, in fact, what they wanted, but it obviously was, because I don't know how you justify. Hindsight is always 20/20, right? And I don't know if you go back to Michigan defeating Ohio State and then Michigan winning the Big Ten championship, how you can justify not making them the number one team in the nation. I realize Alabama beat Georgia. They were the number one team at the time, but I just don't understand how you leapfrog Alabama over Michigan. The only thing that makes sense is what you're trying to do is you're trying to set up that Alabama-Georgia championship game. That's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they got. As a Michigan fan, I'm not bitter. I'm not mad. I'm just glad Michigan had a seat at the table, and they finally got there. So I'm cool with that. But, it was pretty obvious to, I think, most people that looked at it that they were trying to set this up. They got it set up. Congratulations, College Football Playoff Committee. This is reason number 674 why we need to expand this. They got what they wanted at the end of the day. So we'll see how it plays out in 1 week from today, actually.
1 week from today, exactly. And Butch, just to Paul's point, I'll go to you next. The College Football Committee maybe got what they wanted, but is there any argument that Alabama and Georgia aren't the two best teams right now in college football?
Michigan should have been playing Cincinnati. That's just plain and simple.
I agree.
Michigan's number one.
Yes.
Cincinnati coming 4. Those teams pit off. Alabama and Georgia, they pit off again, regardless they like it or not. They may not want to do it, but that was been the proper way to settle this whole matter there. There's no reason why it was set up the way it was. Yeah, money, power, whatever you see it there. I said that 3 weeks ago when after Michigan won.
You did.
And then they settled off into this particular that Alabama climbs up and the number one team in the nation. That's balderdash, and people see that, and down the road a piece, it's gonna lose some fans, okay? And if it hasn't done that already, okay? But, you know, I'm with Paul, and I've been an advocate of this ever since it's happened, but we need an expanded playoff there, okay? If the Division II and Division III can do that, I'm quite sure Division I can find a way to do it and do it peacefully there. We got so many bowls that no one's heard of, and you can use those bowl games for a matter of seating and all this other stuff there where they will mean something. And then some people might show up for those particulars as well. Because I ain't seen no overwhelming bowl games except for maybe 2 or 3 of them. Majority of the fan base, they were not there. They were doing other things there. Right. So it's a black eye for the NCAA committee in itself. They don't care. You know, maybe they're going to some of those gambling rings or something. I don't know. But, you know, what happened shouldn't have happened there. Michigan should have been ranked the number 1 team in the nation. I'm with Paul 100% on that. Cincinnati, you want to give the doubt there, they're the number 4 team there.
I disagree with you two on that, only because I'm an Alabama fan and I like the favorable matchup. But Paul, I'll go to you next. And you know, you agreed pretty wholeheartedly with Butch when you talked about expanding the playoff, which I agree. But with using the bowls as seating, how would that work?
So I actually saw it. It might have been on Reddit. It might have been on another site. I don't know where, so I can't give proper credit, and I feel bad for that. But they had broke it down. So you still use the current format with bowl games, but what you do is you take some of these ancillary bowls that people, like Butch said, people don't really care about, right? Like the Bahamas Bowl or something along those lines.
The Jimmy Kimmel Bowl.
The Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, exactly. So you take like, okay, so I'm looking at the bowl schedule here on my computer right now. Okay, so on Saturday, December 18th, they played a whole bunch of bowl games, right? So you take the Boca Raton Bowl, you take the Celebration Bowl, you take the New Mexico Bowl, you take the Independence Bowl, you take the Lending Tree Bowl, and you take the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl, right? That's 6 bowl games right there, and you play those as meaningful quarterfinal games. You give the top 2 teams a bye. You play those 6 games as meaningful quarterfinal games, which maybe we need one more in there. My math might be off.
So you maybe give the first 4 teams a bye and play those 6 or whatever it may be so they can match off or whatever it may be, and then that would be the end of it.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's it, Butch. So then you play those games, right? Okay, so then you skip ahead to the following weekend where you got the Camilla Bowl, you got the Quick Lanes Bowl, you got the Birmingham Bowl, you got the First Responders Bowl, you got the Liberty Bowl, and you now you bring in those 4 teams like Butch said that you gave a bye to. They play 4 bowl games against the 4 remaining seeds. Now those bowl games mean something. Now you jump ahead to New Year's Eve weekend and you play, you know, whatever bowl games you want to put it into. You play the Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, you play the Outback Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, however you want to do it. You play those 2 semifinal games, then you have a national championship game. Now those bowl games, Scott, where you got Georgia State playing Ball State, I challenge you to name one player from either of those teams.
Can't.
Good. So now, nothing against Georgia State and Ball State, but nobody cares, man. So give me something where now all of a sudden I'm interested in this, right? Give me something where I have Notre Dame playing, I don't know, Auburn, right?
Yeah.
Now I am interested in this. Because the winner of this game goes on to play a Michigan, a Cincinnati, a Georgia, however, an Alabama, however that works out. But there's intrigue now. It's not just Army, Missouri. And again, nothing against those programs, bowl games used to mean something, Scott. You are old enough to remember. I'm old enough to remember. Butch is old enough to remember when it meant something when you went to a bowl game. Now you got dudes opting out. They don't even care. And I get it. You know, the Jake Butt thing, he ended up going from being a first-round draft pick to the fourth round, and his career never panned out the way it was supposed to. But you know what, man? That can happen to anybody. I can get up tomorrow morning and walk out to my car and pull out onto my street, and a semi can T-bone me, and that's it. So you can't live your life like not taking chances. Let these kids play games that actually matter and have some intrigue, and so that fans look at it and they go, oh crap, I got to watch the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Not because Tulsa's playing Old Dominion, but because Ohio State has to play against Pittsburgh, and the winner of that gets Alabama. Like, now there's intrigue.
I like it, Paul. And
you got the Peach Bowl, okay, where Michigan State is in the mix as well, okay? So you got local interest. You not only you flood the nation with reputable bowl games around the country, not just in down south or just somewhere that we don't know about here, but you got greater interest of greater teams participating in these bowls. Again, I repeat with Paul, once upon a time, the bowls meant something. They mean absolutely nothing anymore.
You mentioned the Camilla. Go ahead, Paul.
Real quick. Here's your matchups in the 8-team scenario like Butch and you and I have been talking about.
Okay.
Actually, in the scenario we're talking about, you can do this as a 12-team, okay?
Let's go 12.
So Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincinnati all get a bye. So at 5, Notre Dame plays Pittsburgh. Ohio State plays Utah, which we got anyway. We know how that turned out. That was a great game.
Yes.
Baylor plays Michigan State. Ole Miss plays Oklahoma State. The winners of those games go on to play those 4 teams. Now, you're telling me that you're not more interested in Ole Miss, Oklahoma State playing in the Camilla Bowl than you are Old Dominion and Murray State? Come on, man.
100% agree. And I'm glad you mentioned Camilla Bowl, because I'm thinking, a way to really draw not just more attention to that bowl, but international attention. I've been watching a lot of The Crown, is make it the Camilla Parker Bowles Bowl. Well, how about that? That works out pretty good.
There you go.
I think I'm onto something.
I love Highland humor.
Final thought on college football. I'll go to you first, Butch. You and I talked about Michigan State a few years ago. A similar thing happened to them. They win the Big Ten for the first time in a while. They get to the playoff for the first time ever, and then they get smoked by Alabama, and then things kind of fell apart. Michigan probably isn't in that category, at least not yet, because they, return a pretty good squad. What does Jim Harbaugh and crew have to do at Michigan to not have that fall off and to try to learn from this experience?
Well, number one, you got COVID to work with, okay?
Yeah.
Where basically a lot of those teams had gaps and whatnot. Or you build in that vacation versus finishing off the school year, because we know at that particular time during the holiday season, there's also graduation time there. So you kind of compound that, If you can get by, and most of these teams play 12 games out of a year, if they go into a bowl game or a special playoff game for the ramification of being the champion of that particular league, cut the games down to 10, okay? That's where it used to be. So now these fillers, where if you got to play these extra 3 weeks to get to a championship game, they're not being overwhelming to these kids who are taking on that task there, okay? But, and again, you asked the question about Harbaugh there. Again, to me, they just wasn't prepared. I'm sorry to say that. You look at the scouts on that particular game that they lost. You look at the coaching that prepared them for that particular game. Georgia did not care. The urgency, you could see it on the field. Georgia had it made, okay, from the opening kickoff, okay, and Michigan didn't have a chance, okay, and it's definitely, you got to blame the coaching on these kids' preparation for that there.
And Paul, I'll ask you the same question, but just a couple thoughts on my end, talking about what Butch said. You look at Michigan during the season, they ran a lot of edge plays, these quick screens, edge runs, end arounds, which work in the Big Ten. They don't work in the SEC, especially against a team like Georgia.
Work with a grown man.
That's true. And running the ball, the Wolverines were not able to run the ball. What was Jim Harbaugh vastly outcoached in that game? And the same question I asked Butch, just the future of Michigan, what does it look like?
Well, I'll answer your second question first. I think the future will be okay. A lot of guys are coming back. They're going to get Ronnie Bell back on the outside, which means they have a viable threat at wide receiver. I have been very critical of J.J. McCarthy. I liked what I saw out of him in the fourth quarter in mop-up duty against Georgia because Georgia still had a lot of their ones in there, so I felt good about that. The broadcaster, Scott, I think nailed it during that Michigan-Georgia game when they said, look, in the last, I don't know how many, let's say 4 recruiting cycles, okay, because I don't remember what the exact number was. Michigan got 3 5-star players in those recruiting cycles. Georgia got 20.
Wow.
Right? So I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if Wayne Fonts can coach that disparage in talent. You know what I mean? Like, at some point you run into a situation where the talent that the team has on the field is just too good for any coaching to overcome. And, I don't know if it would have been Michigan, if it would have been Ohio State, if it would have been, pick a Penn State, pick a Pac-12 team playing against Georgia. Georgia's for real, man. And Georgia's going to give Alabama a run for their money in this national championship game a week from today. And I would not be surprised if this time, Tuesday of next week, we're talking about Georgia as national champions.
We shall see, gentlemen. We shall see. We're going to take a break here on the game. When Butch, Paul, and I come back, we're going to transition to the NFL. 1 week left of the regular season and still many things to sort out. All coming up, yes, on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
I gotta figure out how to move the snow before it gets here. Wow, a lot of plows and blowers on the market. And where are they made? Okay, China. Wait, Brazil? What the? There's no way I'm gonna throw away my money. I'm going with Boss.
Boss snow plows from Gaylor Thompson are made in the UP, where winter and deep snow are just a way of life. Boss plows, made in Michigan for Michigan winners, waiting for you at Gaylor Thompson Sales and Service, exit 373, just off I-75, Rudyard.
MNC Water Systems has a solution for all your water needs. Want clean, fresh drinking water? MNC Water Systems proudly distributes Norway Springs artesian water, bottled right here in the Upper Peninsula. Cooler rental and bottled water delivery for your home and office are available. MNC Water Systems is offering contactless delivery right to your door, as well as curbside pickup. Call Mo at MNC Water Systems today at 906-647-7307, serving the Eastern UP for over 25 years.
At Old Mission Bank, we're ready to make your home ownership dreams a reality. We're excited to announce that we now offer USDA home loans with options for 100% financing. You heard that right, 100% financing for qualifying USDA mortgages. Come see our experienced lenders to discuss your personal options and let us find the right mortgage for your needs, because it's what we do best. Act now to pre-qualify by calling us or apply directly online at onbloans.com. We're Old Mission Bank, home of your experienced local mortgage professionals. FDIC insured, equal housing lender.
Don Wilson Insurance Agency is big enough to serve and small enough to care. Don Wilson Insurance offers coverage from Fremont Insurance for personal, auto, home, boat, and commercial. Caring about community is just one of the things that sets us apart. We like to think of it as teamwork. When it comes to protecting the things that matter most, we have you covered. Call Don Wilson Insurance today for your free Fremont insurance quote at 906-635-5600.
You can catch podcasts of The Game at thegamesportshow.com. Now let's get back to it with Scott Nason on News Talk 1400.
And welcome back to the game on News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you as we continue to be joined by co-host Butch Davis from Butch on Sports and special guest Paul VanWagoner from The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg. And gentlemen, let's move on to the NFL. And well, Butch and I already talked about the Lions, Paul, and I'm curious, being in your region, I can't imagine that was the featured late game, but I wanted your thoughts before we look at the NFL as a whole on the 13-1 Detroit Lions. We haven't had you on the show for a while, so just, this season, what have you seen? What needs to go better besides wins, obviously, and a lot of things, but just your overall thoughts on your beloved Detroit Lions.
So I think I can sum this up in just a few words. The defense needs to be better.
Yeah.
And I think that, does Jared Goff struggle? Sure. But when you're giving up 36 points or whatever it is a game, it really doesn't matter. We saw that in the Matt Stafford era. I mean, Stafford averaged 32 points a game as a Lions quarterback, and the defense averaged 36 points per game given up. So, when you look at kind of those types of stats, the defense has to be better. Of course, Scott, as you know, being an avid Lions fan, sometime around September 3rd, I start looking at mock drafts for the next year. A lot of the mock drafts have the Lions taking a lot of players on the defensive side of the ball. And honestly, I think that that's probably the best thing that they can do. They just need to concentrate on that defensive side of the ball. Maybe pick up a couple of, maybe get one wide receiver, with their second pick in the first round, or maybe their first pick in the second round. Maybe you get a quarterback in the future. I'm not really sold on a lot of these quarterbacks. Sam Howell out of North Carolina could be legit. The problem with Sam Howell is he's not exactly a tall quarterback, and he's not super athletic. He's really smart, and he's got a good arm, but I don't know at the next level how that's going to play out. So I'm not sure that I feel real good about any of the quarterbacks in this class. Load up everywhere else. You can always go get a quarterback next year. You're not 1 year and one draft class away from being competitive if you're the Lions. So just go out there and kind of bolster that defense a little bit. And just for the record, the Lions defense is 30th in points allowed, ahead of only the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Jets.
Not good company to be in if you want to be a competitive football team. And I'll go to you, Butch, next. And let's look at just some of the games that were played yesterday. And let's look at the playoff picture, because we have a little more sorted out from yesterday's game. Let's start in the NFC. The Green Bay Packers, with their thrashing of Minnesota last night, has clinched the number one position in the NFC and the first round bye. The Rams had to come back and beat Baltimore. They are in the second position at 12-4. Tampa Bay also had to come back, and we'll talk, I'm sure, more about that game. They're 12-4 in the third position. Dallas, who lost to Arizona, they still clinched the NFC East and are in the fourth position at 11-5. Arizona now 11-5, still have a chance to win the division if they get some help next week. San Francisco has not clinched yet. They did win yesterday. They are currently in the sixth position at 9-7. Philadelphia has clinched. They're currently in the seventh position at 9-7. The only other NFC team in the hunt, New Orleans, they have to win next week and have San Francisco lose. So, Bush, just looking at the NFC playoff picture and some of the games that you saw yesterday, besides the Lions, what are your thoughts?
Oh, boy. You don't make it too tough, do you? Huh?
No, not at all. Simplify things.
Simplify. You did. Philadelphia, we haven't talked too much about that particular team, but this team was 2-5, okay? Yeah. And they reeled off some wins like it was never done before. And they showed everybody that we're not clowns. They had a young quarterback who basically has little to no experience, except for his college days, and it made a mockery of the whole doggone situation there. There's a lot of reporters are wiping egg off their face right now with what Philadelphia did this year. We don't talk a lot of it, but I tell you one thing for sure: there's a many team when they go to the playoffs would not want to play Philadelphia. That is one team I would not want to be bothered with. They play like they got nothing to lose, and they're a very young and talented team as well there. Watch out for them. Green Bay, it's all depending on what they do in Detroit. I'm quite sure Rodgers will start there, but you probably won't see him but no more than a half.
Yep.
Other than that, majority of the players are going to get some rest, and the Lions want to pull off a so-called upset. That'll be the only time to do it there. But right now, I think Green Bay is going to rest a lot of their players. They're in the driver's seat with their particular situation. Dallas, they're going to want to get up in the upper echelon there. If they don't, they'll only have one home game to play there, other than hitting the road for the rest of them if everything is not all right there. But you saw some competitive games in there. Tampa Bay, they're not worried about a doggone thing there. They're going to regroup and do what they need to do in order to be competitive. They got enough veterans and staffers from last year to know how to get there and know what they need to do. So I would say the biggest shock would be the Philadelphia and who else gets in behind San Francisco. Right now my money's with San Francisco, but again, we can wait and see because that's going to be a barn burner game there.
Paul, your thoughts on the NFC? Again, just one spot up for grabs, San Francisco or New Orleans. San Francisco plays at the Rams, and the Rams will have a division to play for. That'll be a competitive game. New Orleans, I believe, plays Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, or Atlanta, one of those two. I think it's Carolina. Just your thoughts on the NFC playoff picture. I had Tampa Bay at the beginning of the season. I still like them, but, you know, Green Bay with that home field advantage didn't work last year against Tom Brady. What are your thoughts just on the NFC right now?
Well, let's start with the Eagles, because here's what I'll say about the Eagles. And I'm always you just got to play who's in front of you kind of a guy, right? 9 wins this year, Scott. Falcons, Panthers, Lions, Broncos, Saints, Jets, Washington, the Giants, and Washington again.
Wow.
You know what you're not going to see in the playoffs?
Those
Falcons,
teams.
Panthers, Lions, Broncos, Saints, Jets, Washington, and the Giants. Now, again, not Philadelphia's fault. You just got to play who's in front of you and win those games. The problem is against teams that are playoff contenders or playoff bound, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Buccaneers, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and the 49ers, they took L's across the board. Philadelphia is not a threat in the NFC at all. They're a sacrificial lamb for whoever that 2 seed is that are mad that they got to play a game in that first round of the playoffs. The Rams, you know me, Scott. I'm all in on the Rams. I love Matt Stafford. I want to see that dude get himself a Super Bowl ring. It's going to be a tough road to hoe if the playoffs stay like this. You're going to get the Eagles in the first round. Okay, not a big deal. Second round, you're going to end up with either the Cardinals, the Cowboys, or the Buccaneers, but they're going to have to come to you. So you're still going to, it's still not an easy game, but, it is going to be played at home, so you're going to be okay. The next round, you got to go to Green Bay if everything goes according to Hoyle. And then that's when the rubber's really going to meet the road, because I want to say that division championship weekend is like January 30th maybe, or maybe it's even February 6th. And I can assure you, I've been gone from the upper echelon of the contiguous 48 for 6 years now, but I know January 30th, February 6th, whichever day it is, it's going to be miserable in Green Bay if you're not a Green Bay Packer. So that's going to be a tough game for them. But, the teams that are there are kind of maybe sans the Cardinals and the Eagles, teams that we kind of expected to be there. I think most people penciled in the Packers. Most people penciled in the Rams, the Buccaneers. The Cowboys were the only team that really had anything in the NFC East, so you pencil them in. So the top 4 teams, I think, were in most people's original playoffs that they predicted back early on. So I like the way it's shaken up. I'll be interested to see if the 49ers can take care of business. I'll be interested to see if the Rams can take care of business to hold on to that number 2 seed.
Butch, moving on to the AFC, who wants the number 1 seed and the first round bye? Well, right now, Tennessee is in good position. I know, right? 11-5. They play at the Texans again. The Chargers thought they had an easy win there a couple weeks ago. They didn't get it. Tennessee wins. They get the number 1 seed. Kansas City now the 2 seed, also at 11-5 after losing to Cincinnati. Speaking of the Bengals, they are now the 3rd seeded team. They already won the North Division at 10-6. Buffalo, they will win the East Division unless they lose to the Jets. They're 10-6. New England 10-6. They're into the playoffs. Indianapolis, who lost to the Raiders, didn't get themselves in. However, if they beat Jacksonville, which you would assume they would, they will get in. And then the 7th playoff spot in the AFC right now is the LA Chargers, but they play the 9-7 Las Vegas Raiders. So that one essentially a play-in game. Pittsburgh and Baltimore, very, very slight chances to make the playoffs. They're going to need Indianapolis to lose and a lot of help. So, Butch, same question. AFC, try to size that up because, boy, no team seems to want to just run away with that conference.
And that makes the AFC very intriguing indeed there. Yeah. Let's look at Kansas City right now. Again, they were like the Philadelphia Eagles right there. Everybody thought that team had lost their glimmer and whatnot. And what did they do? They reeled off a bunch of wins. And I'm quite sure Paul will have a rundown on all those wins that Kansas City got. But you know what? I tell you one thing. They did what they're supposed to do. They wanted to be counted for. And they won those games, and they're now in. The big game to me will be, I wouldn't say for championship rights or whatever it may be, because neither one of those teams I don't think would go, will be the Raiders and the Chargers.
Yeah.
If they don't fight like cats and dogs like they did in the old AFL, that's not going to be a worthwhile game on Sunday Night Football there. But I believe that these 2 teams are going to act ignorant, okay? It'll probably be the best game that we have seen in a very long time. And desperate as I would say there, I didn't think too much of either one of those doggone teams, but they hung on in there. Oakland, I'd say Oakland, but Las Vegas, they hung on in there. The Chargers, they hung on in there, and they're where they're at right now. And that's what I think football is meant to be like there. That last week of the season where everything is not settled, but again, you can settle it by, it's a win or go home, or a win and you're in, or a win and you got a bye. It's just everybody's in the AFC is going to be playing for something very substantial this upcoming weekend there. And that what makes football too exciting. I can't pick right now who I'm going to look at in the AFC. I'm going to look at the Chiefs right now as my bleeder, okay, when it comes down to getting out of the AFC, going to the Super Bowl.
And that's the team, Paul, that I picked at the beginning of the season. Certainly, the AFC has not exactly followed script. Look no further than Cincinnati. I was on your show a few weeks ago. We were talking about does Cincinnati have a chance to win the division? And I said, no, I didn't think they did with their schedule. But, boy, this offense has woken up, and Joe Burrow is just putting up some big numbers. Same question to you, Paul, as far as the AFC. I think there's a case for about 5 or if not 6 teams in the AFC that could make a big run. What are your thoughts?
Well, real quick, Butch, Kansas City's win straight. They beat the Packers, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Cowboys, they beat the Raiders again, and they beat the Chargers. You know what? All 5 of those teams, all 6, because they beat the Raiders twice, all 6 of those teams potentially could be playoff teams. That's the difference between Kansas City and Philadelphia. But thank you, Butch, for teeing that up for me.
That's why you make the big buck, and that's why I said Kansas City this year.
That's right.
So, here's the interesting thing to me, Scott, right, is everything is kind of playing out, but then you got the Titans sitting there, and they kind of all they have to do is win these two games. And we've talked about this, Scott, on the drive on ESPN Blacksburg, 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. The ESPN Blacksburg app, if you want to download it, you can check it out. We know who the Titans are, right? The Titans are the team that are going to come in there. They're going to run the football. They're going to punch you in the mouth. You know what they're going to do. This is almost like the 1950s Green Bay Packers, right? We're going to run like 6 plays. We're going to run them really good. Go ahead and try and stop us. And we're going to play excellent defense. The Titans are one of those teams where if they get ahead of you, you can't catch up because you're not going to have enough possessions to catch up, but they're not really built to play from behind. So if you're the Chiefs or the Bills or the Bengals and you got to play the Titans in the second or third round, you got to jump on them early. And if you don't, they're going to just play their grind you into the turf smash mouth style of football. I like what the Patriots are doing, if we're being totally honest. This is a team, nobody had the Patriots at the beginning of the season. You looked at it, you're like, we don't even know what this rookie quarterback is going to be like. Do they even have wide receivers? Who's going to run the ball? And all of a sudden Belichick doing Belichick things. Yep. I don't know what he keeps up those cutoff sleeves and those hoodies, but it seems to get the job done for him. The Bills, to me, Scott, have been the disappointment. I know they're winning the AFC East right now, and they're sitting in the 4 spot. But this is a team that I think a lot of us had penciled into that 1 seed in the AFC playoffs, and they have woefully underperformed this year. And if you look at it, when the Bills lose, they lose ugly and they lose bad. See Jacksonville. So this is an interesting playoff. I'm more intrigued by the AFC than I am by the NFC, just because I think the NFC is probably going to go according to Hoyle, at least for the first couple of rounds. The AFC could be just a complete Wild West shootout from the get-go.
Final thought here before we go to our final break, gentlemen. We talked about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their success, and I'm sure you all saw the wide receiver Antonio Brown jogging off the field, taking off his equipment, and no longer on the team, according to head coach Bruce Arians. I just wanted your take on Antonio Brown. Certainly somebody that's had some challenges, not just this season, but throughout his career. Butch, I'll go to you first. What do you make of the whole Antonio Brown episode yesterday?
It's really, I don't want to hype it up in any kind of way. It is what it was. A young man who greatly needs some help. He needs some type of intervention and some serious intervention there. Every place he's went, he's gotten into trouble. And not the trouble, I should say, where you're shooting somebody. Well, some of it is not as bad, but some things are worse. This is a guy right now who is having problems with identifying who he really wanted to be. And right now, I felt bad for him in a way, but in another way, he's gotten every opportunity that you can possibly give a human being. And some of the things he has gotten tied up into from this year, especially from lying about, you got the shot and you didn't, you went behind somebody's back and to get a blank card and fill it in like you done did something. And just some of his mindset is just not right. And I'm just hoping, for his sake, because he'll get paid the rest of the year, okay, whatever they owe him. He won't get the bonuses, but he'll get paid the rest of the year. Get some help, because the National Football League, I do believe, is not in his future, but the USFL might be if he gets some help in time.
Michigan Panthers may be a destination for Antonio Brown there, Paul.
That'll be one of them.
Back home where he played his college football, Fire Up Chips.
Fire Up Chips.
That's
you
right.
Know what? You know what? Butch, I think, said it perfectly. the only thing that I'll say is, check on your family. Make sure that everyone is doing okay mentally this time of year with everything going on in the world. It's a good time to do that. And Antonio Brown obviously is one of those people that probably needs some family members to check on him. I know that Le'Veon Bell had said that he reached out to him right away as soon as he got back to his phone, and AB responded to him. So, I know he's got people that are looking out for him and are going to check on him. And I get where Bruce Arians is coming from. You got a football team to run. You got 52 other guys out there that you got to worry about. If one dude doesn't want to be there, he can go. But they're going to have to. It sounds like the Bradys are gonna pitch in and try to help out. And like I said, Le'Veon Bell was another one that said he reached out to him. So hopefully they can get him the actual help that he needs, because he needs more than just being out there on a football field. They need to get him checked. He might have CTE. I know that this isn't me being flippant about this. He's one of those guys. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but about 3 years ago when he was with the Raiders, he was trying to find a helmet that wasn't approved anymore by the NFL because it was comfortable for him and he was used to it, and that's what he wanted to wear. Mm-hmm. And guys, helmets every single day. We have a helmet research lab here at Virginia Tech. Every single day they're making innovations and strides. He seems like the perfect candidate that he needs to get checked for CTE, because the kind of things that he's doing, normal thinking people don't do those things. So hopefully he does get some help. It's definitely not a good situation.
The resources that the NFL claims that they have, especially with all these things happening with head injuries and whatnot in the past of veterans and whatnot who retired the game. Why should we wait till somebody retire or get kicked out of the league and find out, do we really want to help the guy here? This guy's had problems before. And he's not used apparently he's not used the resources that the NFL claimed that they have. And if they did, that would have been one of the tests right then and there why he's still around there.
Yeah, and I'll just add, you guys both hit the nail on the head, I thought, with both your answers. And there's not just resources available for the Antonio Browns of the world, but there's resources available for everyone that's having challenges. Yeah. And as somebody that works in that field full time, please, get the help you need. And, because there's some things that just you can't solve without getting help. So hopefully Antonio Brown does just that. Excuse me. We're going to take our final break here on the game, but we come back. We're going to touch on a couple more subjects. We'll have our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week and more. All coming up on the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, The Game, News Talk 1400.
It's the holiday season, and Reed Metals in Dafter wants to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Reed Metals is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Did you know in the Eastern UP, Reed Metals, your honest metal recycling company, is paying the most money for whole scrap cars and trucks? Bring in your scrap metal and items such as scrap vehicles, heavy equipment, catalytic converters, radiators, vehicle batteries, rims and motors, copper, brass, lead, tin, cast, aluminum, steel, and many more types of recyclable metals, and leave with a check with your name on it. Reed Metals will give you an honest price without surprise fees or deductions at the scale. Reed Metals also offers roll-off dumpsters for both residential and commercial locations. Visit reedmetals.com or call 906-632-0018. Reed Metals, 10 miles south of the Soo on Mackinac Trail. Again, Reed Metals in Dafter wants to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Ah, the joys of cooking. Just find a recipe, get the ingredients, preheat the oven. Okay, this is already too much. Pull up Applebee's to go instead. Choose from the whole menu, order and pay online, pick it up, and now you're home with dinner. Ah, the joys of not cooking. Applebee's to go. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Pick up your next meal with Applebee's Carside to Go. Order and pay online, pick up, and head home. Let's get back to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Let's get back to the game on News Talk 1400.
And welcome back to the game on News Talk 1400. Scott Nason with you as we continue to be joined by co-host Butch Davis from Butch on Sports and special guest Paul VanWagoner from ESPN Blacksburg and The Drive. If you want to hear the full 2-hour version of tonight's show, you can find it here about a half hour on the website, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Gentlemen, we're going to touch real quick on the NBA and the NHL. Paul, I'll go to you first. Butch and I already talked about the Detroit Pistons as well. The NBA entering 2022, the Chicago Bulls, one of the hotter teams. DeMar DeRozan absolutely on fire. The Milwaukee Bucks also with the 6-game winning streak. Golden State with the best record in the league. The LA Lakers having some ups and downs this season. Just overall NBA impressions to you, Paul, before we go to Butch.
I can't believe you didn't talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, Scott.
They're doing great.
Man, now I got to ask you guys, and I'm just going to throw this out there. Is Kevin Love the most underrated, underappreciated basketball player in NBA history?
Yes.
I would say yes at this point.
Talk about mental health here,
Yeah.
He's a great example of when you get yourself together, you could be an influence and a positive one.
Yes. Kevin, shout out to Kevin Love. Always been a big fan of Kevin Love. Even in his early days, I always thought that he was one of those dudes. Kevin Love and then Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh was the other one that I always thought was overlooked. And Bosh luckily got his rings with the Heat. Speaking of the Heat, they're doing well. Pistons are just, man, that's a dumpster fire. Butch, you're down there. I guess you and I need to talk because being where I am, I don't get Pistons games.
I will be happy to come on your show and have a good time on the Pistons there. Really would.
But Butch, here's the thing. Looking at that 6-28 record, I'm glad I don't get Pistons games, man.
Well, I'm glad you don't either. I don't want to waste your time. It was free and with the NBA pass. I tell you one thing, and I discussed with Scott and our fans as well. I think the Pistons right now need a coaching change. They really need someone who basically has some influence. There's a lot of very good young coaches out here. One of the coaches that I have always thought deserve a portion in the NBA that we don't look at, who's close by, the Windsor Express. You may be elegant with that, or I'm quite sure everybody in Canada know about them there. It won championships for 3 straight years. And Bill Jones, who comes from Detroit Southwestern, played for Iowa, also for the Atlanta Hawks and some other teams there, has some professional experience there. And I was talking to Jalen Rose, I think about a week ago, okay, over the phone, have some good chit-chat with him, and he said, you know what, Bush, that's a great idea, Coaches like him, who basically is unblemished in the NBA, he doesn't have that baggage that he's carrying around, because it's apparent that Toronto got rid of Casey for Dwayne Casey for some unknown reason, although he was coach of the year. He hasn't been a coach of anything since he's been here. And I just don't think he makes very good moves. And the moves that he makes is just pathetic, okay? When you have a Luka Garza, your next best player in the draft, and a lot of people had a great regard for him, but the Pistons got him. And you don't play the man. Now you have to play him because of Colbert there, and he still shows up and show you great energy, great surprises, and one of the centers that you can't push around, it's ridiculous. I just think the Pistons need a coaching change. And for the rest of the NBA, per se, when you talked about the NBA and I say Los Angeles and all those other teams, Los Angeles will come out of their rut.
Yep.
They're going to come out their rut there. Cleveland, what can you say about that team, okay? Nothing but good things. They got rid of some people, and they've been better for it ever since, okay? And I tell you, my hats are off to the management staff of the Cavaliers. They did what incredible job to get those. And these are kids, okay? There's some unknown players that you ain't never heard of, and they're going out there playing an honest game every single night and winning games.
Another team, guys, that I'm high on that's just kind of quietly going about their business, Memphis, 23-14, fourth in the West. Ja Morant, the last 3 games, over 30 points. This guy is a superstar, and I don't think many people had Memphis being even in the playoff discussion, let alone fourth in the West. There you go. That's a mic drop moment right there. Gentlemen, we got a few minutes left. Let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. I will start. Thumbs down to the passing of John Madden, but thumbs up to the legacy and career of John Madden. If you had a chance to watch that Christmas Day special on Fox, we can say that now, considering now we carry Fox Sports. Just anybody that knows anything about football probably learned a lot of that from watching John Madden, especially people of our age. Anytime the Lions played on Thanksgiving, or I shouldn't say anytime, but most times would be the only chance we'd be able to hear John Madden and Pat Summerall. The guy did broadcasts on all 4 networks. I mean, what more can be said about a guy that just seemed like a very down-to-earth, humble guy, and certainly a legacy that remains. And so thumbs down to the passing of John Madden, but thumbs up to the legacy of John Madden. And thumbs up to me, a little personal one here, although I might not be saying this in a few hours. Butch, Paul and I were talking off the air about fantasy football. I have been part of the league known as the JFFL, the Junior Fantasy Football League. I believe my first season was either in 2000 or 2001, somewhere in that time frame. I've been a member of this league for 20 years. I've been in the finals, I think now 3, maybe 4 times. I've yet to win. Right now, Butch, I'm 19 points up on my opponent. He has Nick Chubb and Austin Hooper to play tonight. And so thumbs up for what I hope is my first JFFL championship, but next week it might be a thumbs down if I have bad luck. And Paul's rooting for me.
I am. There's a contingent of us who have won multiple championships that like to keep that group very small, and Scott having not won yet, we have been vocally pulling for Scott. There's also some people in our group that are kind of poop heads, and so we wanted them to lose. So I'm all about it. I'm all about Scotty.
I appreciate that, Paul. Butch Davis, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week.
Oh boy, I'll talk on the man. I got to meet him twice in person there, and I was honored to see him when he came into the hall when he was voted for the Hall of Fame there. I was sitting outside smoking a cigarette, matter of fact.
Attaboy.
And he come through the door to where I was right next to me, and we congratulated, and he stopped and shook my hand and whatnot there, and I'll never forget it. Second time is when he did a game in Detroit, and I got to see the Madden Cruiser and everything there, and he was just a comfortable person to be around when it comes down to just talking, okay? It didn't always have to be football per se, but when you said something about some food, man, everybody's mouth was watering and whatnot.
Yep.
This is a guy who enjoyed his munchies there, and I'm going to miss him because football for these last 20, 25 years has not been the same since John Madden gotten to the swing of things there. He's made football an enjoyable game that people will always want to see him, not because of the football game itself, but the entertainment that John Madden gave it. So thumbs up for John Madden. He's in a better place, but we're going to miss him. Thumbs down to ESPN Plus and the incredible job they're doing with the National Hockey League, not showing any games on their station of networks, ESPN and ESPN2, nor neither ABC. And it stinks when your home team, Detroit Red Wings, who are on ESPN, gets blocked out by the network, which is Bally, okay, for TV, and they don't get to show the game at all. So, boo-hoo for them.
Paul VanWagoner from ESPN Blacksburg, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week.
So I'm going to start with my thumbs down, and this is a more than sports, but there's a sports twist on this. Thumbs down to drunk driving. If you missed the news story today, Raiders rookie cornerback Nate Hobbs was arrested earlier today on drunk driving charges. We all know about the Henry Ruggs incident earlier this season where a lady tragically lost her life in Las Vegas. Running back Josh Jacobs was arrested a year ago for DUI. These are just 3 players across the NFL that have been recently arrested for DUI. This is 2022, man. You can call an Uber. You can call a cab. Crap. If you're listening, I live close enough to you, you can call me. Thumbs down to drunk driving. Don't do it. People lose their lives. I think I saw a stat. It might have been on the Michigan State Police site. It might have been on the Virginia State Police site. I don't remember. 47% of all vehicle-related deaths are caused by drunk drivers. Stop drinking and driving. Thumbs down to that. Thumbs up to Jim Harbaugh. We all know the narrative. 4th place in the Big Ten East, can't win the big game, can't beat Ohio State, blah, 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 can't beat ranked teams, did all of that this past season. Thumbs up to Jim Harbaugh. I've stuck with it from the get-go. Scott will attest to this. I've never been on the get rid of Harbaugh bandwagon. I've always stuck with it, and it's paying off now. So thumbs up to Jim Harbaugh.
Gentlemen, we got to go. Paul, appreciate you joining us here on the game, and certainly we'll get you on in the months ahead.
Thanks, Bob.
And Butch, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
I will.
All right, guys, take care.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight's edition of the game. Again, we'll join Detroit Pistons basketball in progress as the Detroit Pistons taking on the Milwaukee Bucks live from Milwaukee. If you want to hear the full 2-hour version of tonight's show, you can find it a little bit later on at the website, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. That's going to do it for this Monday night edition of the game. We'll talk to you next Monday night for our next edition here on News Talk 1400.
Thanks for listening to the game on News Talk 1400 WKNW Sault Ste. Marie. Check us out next Monday at 6 for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. You can hear the podcast of the show and other broadcasts at thegamesportshow.com.